Food is all around us. It's no longer just in our kitchens and restaurants. It's on our phones, Instagram, YouTube. We use food as a reason to get together, celebrate, and experience. No matter if that experience is in your home or in a different city. I am your host, Scott Scher, and I'm here to talk about your favorite food and the people behind them. This is the I'd Eat That podcast.
And so that's really where our passion lies, is let's talk about positivity. Let's support the people that are working hard and doing a good job. And, we'll all be a lot better off for it.
Hello, thank you for joining me for episode 9 of the I'd Eat That podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/I'd Eat That and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/I'd Eat That. Today we have Steve Mangano, CEO and creator of the food review app Curate. Curate is a restaurant review app that takes out the reviews. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the I'd Eat That podcast. Today, we have a great episode with Steve Mangano, CEO and creator of the food app Curate. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the Curate app?
Sure. The easiest way for your listeners to think about Curate is it's the Spotify of restaurant searches. And by that, we mean we want our users and the consumer to make lists and to share their sort of hit list of restaurants that they like for others to view and follow and, go to those restaurants. So we sort of don't have reviews per se and certainly don't have ratings. We think that they add, kind of little value to the conversation. And what you really want to know is, where's your friend eating? What's their favorite places in, whatever town, or what do they want to eat by meal type, favorite bars, favorite brunch spots. And that's how we encourage folks to make lists and share a list amongst their group of friends and then, broader audience.
And can you kind of dive a little bit more into why you got rid of the review systems? It seems like everybody talks about Yelp and some of the other food reviews, and that's kind of how they choose restaurants.
Yeah, I think that has become sort of commonplace. Let's handle ratings first. So ratings are often arbitrary. Some people may have some criteria or formula, but when you go back to sort of how ratings were created, whether you're looking at, kind of the way a newspaper or something like the New York Times would do, or Michelin, there's a methodical process. There's usually multiple visits. It's usually based on, some very stringent and consistent criteria. But a ratings in just a generic world, in a crowdsourced world, ends up being fairly arbitrary. And what's 3-star to someone is not the same as 3-star to someone else. And then you're also comparing across types. You have McDonald's that will be in another app, the Yelp, and might have 5 stars. You have this great independent local restaurant that, is averaging 3.5 stars, and one may be clearly better than the other, but I think ratings don't really reflect that. From a review standpoint, well, some reviews can certainly be helpful. It gives you information, but oftentimes they can be negative. Numerous and consistent examples of people being hostile to a restaurant for whatever reason, oftentimes doesn't have to do with the food, and so that impacts the ratings, it impacts the reviews. There's a lot of example of fake reviews, and we just don't think it adds a tremendous amount to the conversation. If you think about the way you actually choose a restaurant in a city where you know someone, or in your own city, you're texting a friend and saying, hey, I'm coming to X city, give me some places to eat, and they're going to text you back their 5 or 6 places. They're not giving you star ratings, they're not giving you reviews, they're not certainly telling you about negative places. And so what we really think that there's an opportunity to have a conversation around places that we like and to concentrate on that and to help the consumer kind of cut through the clutter. Here's a list of places I like, now choose from there.
That makes sense. What influencers or chefs can people follow and see what's on their list?
Yeah, so in about 20 cities, we have influencers or chefs, and some of those range from top name chefs like Dominic Bren or Barbara Lynch and Ashley Christensen, and some are kind of hyper local to that area. So they have their list of places that they like, whether it's in their town or where they're traveling. I think that that's an interesting aspect that we bring to the table, and those chefs and influencers are making the list directly in the app. It's not kind of secondhand or anything like that. And then we have the broader consumers in there making and sharing their list. And so it's really this kind of culinary community and broader community coming together. And so we use the curators that we call them, the chefs, or the other culinary talent, could be beverage talent, in the app to kind of give you some guideposts, because if you're in there and you're not following anyone yet, they'll help, kind of a good starting point and providing some good insight. But obviously we encourage our users to, engage and follow some people that might have some similar taste. We've also added a photo feature. So what we heard from a lot of people as well, we may use XYZ app because of the photos. So we love Curate. It's helping us find a restaurant, but to make our final selection, we look at photos. And so we've added that. And in those photos, people can add some comments relative to that photo. In other words, like, this is a great hamburger, or get the particular fried rice dish, or what have you. So that allows that comment aspect, but again, in a positive sense, and adding the photo feature combined with the chef feature really makes it dynamic.
Okay. And can people post multiple lists?
Yeah, we encourage that. So we have some people do it by city. So they're like, here's our favorite place in Baltimore, New York, Philadelphia. And then others will do it by, these are my favorite bars across the country, or these are my top 10 fine dining spots. It's really, we just want people to have fun with it, engage with it, and really encourage people to create this kind of community of positivity.
Okay. And who's this app for? Is it for foodies, chefs, travelers?
I think it's for anyone that wants to eat at a restaurant and prefers independent restaurants, wants to find unique places. It's certainly for chefs and foodies, but it goes well beyond that. And many of our users are kind of a lot of our users are the casual food person. So it's kind of this combination. We often say that we have people that are the contributors. So those may be the chefs or the hyper foodies who are on top of every place to go, and they're making their list and pushing them out there. And then there's a whole set of people that are, love food and want great restaurants, but are busy doing whatever their day job is and staying up to date with that. And so they're traveling, and we hear this a lot. They're traveling, they end up in Indianapolis, and they're like, okay, here I am. I now need a place to eat, and I want to find a good spot, and I want to find it relatively quickly. Boom, the app is great for that, because they can just open it, look at the list, look at what people's lists are, begin to select. And then a lot of people use it to plan trip. They're kind of going to a city, and they look at a list, and then we have a map feature and all those bells and whistles. We integrate with Open Table, so if you see a restaurant that you like, there'll be an online reservation button on there if they're on Open Table, and you can go straight through the Open Table app and make your reservation.
That's great. That sounds very convenient. Touched upon this a little bit, the difference between the independent restaurants and the chains. So what type of restaurants are listed? Is it local places, or are there chains on there like Applebee's and Outback?
Yeah, so we don't have any chains like an Applebee's or Outback. We generally, our general rule around that, and we're not overly strict. If a consumer loves it, we want them to be on there. But our general rule is that if it's kind of a franchise-based or a heavy multi-unit establishment, we don't put it in the app. And our reasoning for that is, one, our whole goal is to cut through the clutter and help you find independent restaurants. It doesn't mean that we might have a place that has 5 or 6 locations, certainly. But we also feel like if you're trying to find an Applebee's, Google's going to do a hell of a lot better job than we are in that. You already know you want to go there. You don't need an app for that. So we try to, kind of eliminate that clutter. And then our users are always letting us know, because maybe there's your favorite restaurant, you're making a list, for some reason it's not in there yet. Then in the app, you can let us know. We typically add it fairly quickly. We just vet that it's not a chain, and then we add it in there. You can add it to your list. So a lot of our users are supplying that content. And then we're adding additional features with some badge features and special user opportunities for our high contributor.
And are there different type of badges, or is it just for those that contribute?
Yeah, well, contribute, like, in other words, have lists, have photos. So we're starting to add those features in there. And then we already have that one badge for the curator. So if you're a chef or a particular influencer, then you have a curator badge.
Very cool. Now I really want to get that badge for the podcast now.
Excellent. Make your list. We'll get you up there for sure.
Perfect. What else can people find on the Curate app?
I mean, I think we went through most of it. Like I said, we have, map features, all the information in the restaurants. You can link through to the restaurant's website to get more details or hit a menu. For restaurants that have claimed their page, we have the ability to kind of give feedback to the restaurant. There's a growing number of restaurants that are claiming their pages and doing some stuff there. And then really the photo feature. I think the photo feature is new and it's interesting. And so when you land on it, our home screen, there's a Discover and an activity feed. So that Discover feed is showing you anyone in that city whether you're following them or not, who's posted a recent picture or has updated a list. In the activity feed, it's showing everyone you're following that has done activity. So obviously, the more people you're following, then the deeper that activity feed will be. And then we're starting to really publish a lot of our own articles and then partnering with a few magazines. So you can be in there and find some news content and related to whether it's various lists or some of our culinary talent in there, different events that are coming up throughout the nation. So there's that. Almost like a publisher platform within it as well.
Great. Yes, I saw one of the articles in there that really got my attention. It was, where would quarterbacks go to watch the game if they could?
Right.
I thought that was very clever.
Thanks. Yeah. We're trying to do, kind of fun stuff. We take food. What I always say is we take it seriously, but not that seriously, right? So it's seriously that, we want to see it independent. We want to see unique experiences, but ultimately we should be having a good time. We shouldn't be going ballistic and putting something as a 1-star and a negative rating when it's not perfect. And, we want to have fun with it. We want to, kind of celebrate the moment and enjoy the meal.
I really appreciate you saying that. I think negative reviews kind of damper our experience a little bit, and I'm glad that you're passionate about getting rid of those negative reviews.
Yeah, I think that you don't know what happened. A lot of my friends are culinary people. I've owned a restaurant, and you don't know what's happened on that particular day with that particular experience. And restaurants that are consistently delivering a bad experience, they'll be out of business on their own. I always say they don't need your help, but the restaurants that are doing a great job do need your help, right? Because that independent restaurant doesn't have the marketing budget that an Applebee's or anyone else has. So they need your help to say, hey, this is my favorite spot. Go there. Trust me to go there. And, they get 2-3 covers extra a day or a week. It's a difference between, that person staying in business and having a successful restaurant and not. And so that's really where our passion lies, is let's talk about positivity. Let's support the people that are working hard and doing a good job. And, we'll all be a lot better off for it.
That's a great message. What do you have to say for those that aren't familiar with your app or are still on the fence on downloading Curate?
What I'd say is, give it a try. Get engaged with it. I mean, you could always delete it. We don't want you to, but, I think Curate's one of those apps that, we have a lot of features. What we find is that when people are in there multiple times and they start making lists and really engage with it, we constantly get feedback that, hey, I wouldn't have found this restaurant without it, or this is my new favorite spot, even in the city where users live in, right? So a lot of times people use this when they travel, but even in the city they live in, there's new places or there's an old spot that they never knew about. We're a small company, right? We're fighting giants ourselves. And so, if you believe in that message, then, spread it, share your list and make your list and just get out there. And our website has good information as well. All the news stories are up there. We treat it as a publishing platform. We have kind of a 13 list that a lot of writers are publishing. And so you can have our top 13 in various places. And so that's also a way to get engaged with the app.
Perfect. And Steve, are you ready for our final four?
Sure.
Perfect. What food city are you dying to go to that you haven't been to yet?
Austin, Texas. The barbecue alone, and I mean, there's a lot of lists that we have in there. There's a lot of barbecue lists. I've been there a long time ago, so dying to go back and dying to eat there.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely on my list too. What's the hardest dish for you to pass up when you're out to dinner?
Oh God. Well, I'm a fried rice addict, so if I'm at an Asian restaurant that has a good fried rice, that would be it. And probably the mac and cheese. Got to get the mac and cheese.
And what's the most exotic dish you've eaten?
I guess I had puffer fish in Japan once, so that would probably be classify as the most exotic.
And if people want to learn more about you and Curate, where can they find more information?
On me, I'm certainly on LinkedIn. Obviously, Curate. It's curateapp.com. That's really the best spot to really dig deep and get to know the app and download, obviously, it from there. So CUREATAPP.com.
Big thanks to Steve Mangano for sharing Curate app with us. It is a free app and can be downloaded on iPhone and Android. Curate is a great app for food bloggers, food Instagrammers, travelers, and chefs. I'm currently on Curate. Please follow me if you want to know what restaurants I go to and enjoy. I also want to thank you for listening to the I'd Eat That podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, subscribe, and share this podcast. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for more content. Next week, I talk about Eat With, the Airbnb of food with U.S. General Manager Sasha Larkin of Eat With. I'll see you next week on the I'd Eat That podcast.